My name's Louie, I'm with Prager Brothers, and today we're making some traditional panettone, except it's not traditional because it's got a lot of chocolate. We increased the butter and sugar percentage, so it's quite a bit richer, but it's still done with the traditional sourdough technique, so there's no yeast, and essentially it's this kind of wonderful sourdough cake-like bread. So we're gonna be portioning out to the right size per loaf. It's like a 3-day bender, the panettone. On Tuesday, I took our sourdough starter from our bread and started feeding it a lot less water every 4 hours. And then woke up super early Wednesday morning and we continued the process of feeding it every 4 hours, keeping it at a nice warm temperature. And then last night, Wednesday night, we made the first dough, which is the sourdough starter, which we call the levito. That ferments overnight for about 12 hours. It makes the first dough. So this morning I came in and had the first dough and I mixed that with just a little bit more flour. Actually, most of the flour is done in the first dough, and through that long fermentation that ensures the flour is all fermented. So then we mix the dough. Normally we mix for between 10 and 15 minutes. Today we had a little hiccup for some reason. The flour I'm using is not as strong as I would normally do. And so we ended up having to mix for about 45 minutes, and luckily it came together. I've had days where I have to throw it all away, so there's no guarantee with this stuff. And we're still not guaranteed. So we're just doing a little pre-shape, kind of begin the shaping process. The whole trick here is getting nice gluten development, which is tricky when you got so much fat and sugar in there that it's interfering with the gluten links up and also with the fermentation. That's our classic Italian, candied orange, lemon, and a bunch of raisins. They're looking about 30 minutes to an hour out, so we gotta start hustling. Then I got 2 different doughs going. It kind of puts a little extra pressure on. Plus, if they don't come out right, it's just such a waste because there's so much expensive ingredients in here. And I already have 2 days invested in this process. So now we're doing a second pre-shape. You don't always have to do this, but it can be a little trick to help the gluten development. We're gonna make a glaze that goes on top of the panettone. Almond flour, sugar, cocoa powder, a little bit of cornstarch, egg whites. The glaze is ready, so we'll fill up the piping bag and then we're gonna pipe little circles all over the top of those. The glaze, it kind of adds a decorative top. It's nice and crunchy. It also helps keep the panettone moist in the oven and helps with oven spring. So a little powdered sugar coating. This thing is not shy on the sugar at any part of the process. Now we're gonna add the pearl sugar. So this is the traditional one. So we're just opening this up, and then the butter is gonna help the top from drying out and give it a little more volume. The oven's gonna try to dry the surface of the dough out, so the longer you can keep it moist, the more expansion you're gonna get as it blooms open in the oven. This is kind of the traditional topping. So we like to always try to do things the way they did them a long time ago and not recreate anything, just try to bring it back. I often feel like they figured out the best way to do it a while ago and no reason to have to recreate something. There's the traditional ones. Check out how big they are. Watch how big they become. Now we're gonna bake them for about an hour. Once it reaches 200 degrees, they're good. We gotta shape these ones now. I've been running around like this since 4 in the morning nonstop. It's 2 now, so we'll probably be going until about 6. So it's 14 hours nonstop. I gotta remember to drink water. Sometimes the coffee and pastry just doesn't cut it. No, but I'll end up like drinking like 2 cups of coffee and eating like 2 croissants, and like it'll be 6 o'clock in the afternoon. I'll be like, man, why do I feel so bad? It's like, oh, I haven't drinking any water. I mean, I'm going non-stop for 14 hours. But when the panettones come out great, it's all worth it. Trick with the panettone is your foot's on the gas pedal all the time. You're trying to keep things warm and moving. Meanwhile, the bakery's still going through its normal day-to-day, and it's during the holidays, so our day-to-day is even more significant. It's a crunch to squeeze it in but it wouldn't be a Christmas without it. It's just starting. All right, so this is the final shape. The proof's between 2 to 6 hours, and that's kind of all depending on how well you did with the starter the day before. Hopefully it's not 6 hours because it's already a long enough day. I think they look great. Got to keep them in this warm box. Boom. See how the powdered sugar kind of broke apart and made that cool texture on top? We have to take one sheet pan at a time and hang them, because if we just were to leave them like this, they would just all collapse on themselves. They're kind of so rich and heavy. See how it's starting to cave in already? So then we flip them upside down. Another 30 minutes, I'm gonna throw these in. Call it successful Panettone day.